We are back, and this time we're going to chit chat about love. And so, when it comes to the 5D collective, it's mystics and not people who are unconsciously loving, and they do have self-awareness, accountability, and self-regulation skills and/or desire to continue to expand. I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. I'm a functional adult, and I am a woo-woo lady for those of you who don't believe in mystics. And I'm also a pseudoscience lady because I bring human spiritual and spirituality elements, subject matters together, and I use words however I may please. I'm a whole 3-year-old heart, and we're going to begin with Sadhguru. To ignore mortality is the greatest ignorance. Yes, Sadhguru. I will say totally, as well as, let's read a couple more. As such, there is no right decision in life. If you make a decision and put your everything into it, it will turn out wonderfully. Yes. This one's also important for our group. Never look up to anyone, never look down on anyone. When you see all the way they are, you shall navigate life effectively. Every person is an inner child. They all have the same exact potential when they're transmuting pain. So the fool's journey, all the way to the end of it, when you meet 4D mystics, they don't know how to tell you that there is no evil. In fact, they confuse this word because they're still using ancient biblical texts and philosophers and all that other great stuff, and they're not using attachment and trauma. So they don't understand that if you're vibing with trauma, you are going to be at a low vibration. And if you lock yourself in, because the neuroplastic agent of every human being is imagination, and since people who have black and white thinking and split thinking, and they have therefore my thoughts and emotions are true, with a 3-year-old that's brokenhearted and a 1-year-old as well. So they got defectiveness and shame on a karma wheel. Yeah. So when you have human suffering going on and the people are Pinocchios with wooden bodies, but they get to the island through Stromboli, through all that, they keep thinking they're actually alive and that they know what they're doing. But what it is that when you don't heal your childhood trauma, you're confused and you keep dating and being around people who actually don't have healthy boundaries at all. And in fact, you move away consistently from the people who are authentic because they aren't the ones that your bell is used to. So your dysregulated nervous system is like, oh, my heart beats for when I'm in a non-secure relationship with another push-pull human being who's going to do all this lust, sour sauce stuff versus honey. I've been using this story because, see, lust is yucky for those of us who know what love is. Love is not in any way, shape, or form going to involve my sympathetic nervous system. It means that you are going to be consistently a person who knows how to, one, be open-hearted and to be vulnerable. And your inner child is out to play, meaning you're vulnerable. That's it, period. If you have any type of rigidity where you become closed off, especially if it's due to unresolved trauma, I'm going to notice it. And here's where, as a 5D collective person, it's not an obstacle. No, it will surface, and I will know that I can bring clarity to that home of yours. And that is how we support people to forgive, one, their home, their inner child, for having to put up with shit, not their inner child did everything it could to save them, their brain, all of it. So the pseudo lady here, pseudoscience lady, yes, there's psych educators who give psych education, but we got the ones who lacked education, so they think we're imagining things. And so they say there's a lack of imagination for evil versus no, there's a lack of education, and this word is not going to be used in the absence of reminding you all that Michael Stone, our forensic criminologist, lets us know what evil is. They're all surrounded by good therapists for the 5D collective, mystics particularly. So here's what a divine feminine will continuously share. I learned from Jesus and God unconditional love. And I learned how to say, yeah, sure. Anybody who wants to tell me the word God and that I, for being a Reiki master, is something that they want to use the evil word for, whatever, because I'm not evil. If there's anyone who's evil in the book of a person who's a divine feminine and who's connected to Akashic intelligence, is the very people who divide people with demonizing stories. Romanticizing too. We don't demonize or romanticize. Jacob personality tells you how it is. In your face, not behind your back, by the way. And in fact, we're not shy, which is why when people think that we are arrogant, we're like, oh no, but if this is what you think arrogance looks like, you obviously don't know what grandiosity are. And then we'll watch them be with a grandiose Stromboli and think that that is actually confidence versus notice that there you have wool pulled over their eyes. And then it's only once they get out of that that you hope they notice it. It's kind of like you getting beat up. Do you realize that who beat you up is the actual person that you think is confident? So noticing the difference, let me share. It's when you can be a good observer of yourself and of others, and then you can notice also this. This will tell it to you, but you have to have ears to hear. Sadhguru again, intention is one thing. Execution is another. In your life, will you execute what you intend, or will you let things happen to you accidentally is the big question. The ones who do karma wheels, yes, they don't actually know what they're doing. They don't want to hear. Pinocchios with wooden bodies, they will deflect anytime. The 16-year-old of any person is the fight last charge state. We all have these child charge parts. Mine are good. They're sleeping, and when they come up, I'm the grown-up. Means your higher self. So you can do one-to-one mentorship if you're interested. The commitment is of a 12-month period at the bare minimum, because you are worthy of investing in yourself. And because there's a thing called we're a pattern of ourselves and habits, and because those adaptive child capacities to come up, they recur. So you're going to want to have those who can be your observer, be that Jacob, and then support you to walk a walk and talk a talk, but you're going to feel it. And you're going to feel it long enough. And see, for romance, the same thing goes. You got a healthy self-worth partner. You're going to notice the difference of how you get treated in moments of turmoil, where in codependent relationships, you got a low self-esteem human being who's going to project and make you out to be the bad guy or gal or they. Or if you are not taking note of your own self, okay, so this is why behavior is not to be pathologized. You can understand it with the psych education. As long as you're playing out a push-pull, you're not a grown-up yet. You're not doing dharma. I use those words. So to me, grown-up means you're emotionally, mentally aware of yourself. Otherwise, you're just a teenager, and there's a Pinocchio following a Stromboli, and there's a donkey at a well not drinking water, and we're going to keep having fun with that. Okay, so there's another quote that I wanted. Detachment does not mean non-involvement. You can deeply be involved, but not entangled. Yes. In fact, this is the beauty of the independent lovers, which is why for the solo poly, we do relationship anarchy and non-hierarchical. Nobody is more or less worthy. Giving anyone a number is very insulting, dehumanizing, means there's competition, means there's low self-esteem in a way from here, because the minute that you can think that somebody is up or down means you're looking up or down, means your inner child is not an inner child adult yet. Means yourself still feels I need a thumbs up, thumbs down for inadequacy from the herd. And that's where that inclination of our human herd comes from the past. So with this right here and your awareness, you can move beyond it. Some of us, we don't have it at all, again, but I got lucky. I have a child-centric environment. I have a twin. I got to share my primary caregiver. She showed me how to walk a walk and talk a talk, and I met Jesus along the way and God. And that's exactly where we see these eyes, is because I think of all the people that want to look at me with eyes of, you're a demon. And no, I'm not. But you know what? It's okay. You keep on believing the wrath of whoever it is that's basically telling you that demons come out of you because of yoga. And let's not believe the sciences people like Peter Levine, who share with you that trauma memory and charges and all of that is stored in your muscles, bones, and tissues and comes forth. Or Bezel van der Kolk also, who tells you about the body keeping the score. And it's not a belief. It's actually research studies. They continue to conduct them and continue to build quantitative data, some of them. Some they bring you qualitative. But there's been study after study after study that's showing apple don't fall far from the tree. It's called Let's Stop Transgenerational and Cultural Trauma, which means let's stop talking about evil as if it's an entity, because it's not. It's people who have what's called suffering in their body, and then they got a Zen master who tells them that there's always going to be laundry. No. Science are going to let you know there's not going to have to be laundry. You know what transmuting pain means? It means existence is one whole process. You are not a separate entity. Thank you, said Guru. Celebration is not an act. Celebration is the way you are. I'll get to it in a minute. I want to find a specific quote. Traumatized individuals, they often wear masks, they smile, they pretend everything is okay. They're dressed very well and nobody can see their pain, but it's so important to be able to tell your truth when you're traumatized. Ruth Lanius, thank you, PhD. And there's, yes, yoga. is not just an exercise system. Yoga is the science of obliterating the boundaries of individuality to know the universality of one's existence. It's called becoming a restorative embodiment self in human terms, in science's terms for you, the viewer here. So it means you working on your own self, emotions, thoughts, mindset. Good therapy for those who have a window tolerance that is big. If you're disconnected from your emotional body, which can happen. So that's why the psych education is needed, because yoga does bring stuff up. And it is not, at this point in 2024, something that you have to go unprepared for. So my journey is also to share you want to have people who do have a psych educational background, or at least you get one, because there are things that come up and it's not going to go away. If you don't know how to make sense of it, you're not going to move towards integration. And integration of the brain, thank you, Daniel Siegel. So see, I bring Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox, Bezo Vanderkolk. They're all pretty much doctors. And Sadhguru, I love that he's out there. But when he doesn't share with you the psych education, he says ignore it, you don't get the potential to own your story. And owning your story is what brings you the capacity to overflow with humanity. Use your human name. And then this whole divinity descends. It's not a divinity according to those religious textbooks. Or like when Nietzsche says, let me see if I can find the book before we could wrap it up. But anytime you need an adjective, basically, to embellish something, means you're not accepting your humanity. Your humanity is simple. We have ancestors who lived with the bears and tigers. They were monstrous. Can you imagine? No light, the moon. We don't need stories when you know what our story is without creating archetypes and all that. Every superior human being will instinctively aspire after a secret citadel where he is set free from the crowd, the many, the majority. So man alone with himself. Okay, this is from whatever time he's from, right? Nietzsche. And the part of what I know is that people misunderstand all this stuff, and I'm the human translator. So I'm sharing with you the self and the integration of the brain. When stuff comes up, if you're not able to know what it is, you won't make the best of that opportunity. But to be able to take what is coming up requires you to be aware that it stems from your childhood. Okay? Balancing, moderation is what we're all made of. If you want to create your own destiny, but as long as you create it unconsciously, you think it is decided by some other force. That was one of the ones that I was looking for. And on that note, I know that you are going to bear with me just one more second, because it's important for me to share this with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using your time. And it's always about the mortal thing. Yoga ultimately means, we already read that one, and I cannot find it. But he has another one where it's about if you're conscious here. If you're conscious that you're mortal, there's no time to do anything stupid. You have to stay on track. So I wanted to have that one there because, again, the trauma that comes up needs to be welcomed by the person who is having the sensations, images, affects, meanings, and behaviors coming up. And to know it's not an obstacle, that it will be something that they can return to and notice from their home. And that is because their divine feminine is their body, and it's the inner child of yours that wants to come forth. But that can only happen if you're able to speak a truth. The truth is not a good or bad contract. It's in fact, this is the part where we'll end with, it's a capacity to say, my thoughts, my emotions are coming up. And to not believe in this story of evil from ancient times when they didn't have sciences, and that's the human sciences that share with us what's stored in our body and how our mind also counts the left mode. The left mode is your chit chatter, it's the verbal part, and the right mode is what is going to be allowing all that comes up to be coming up. But if you can't handle it, because there's a lot of pain and there's emptiness, it'll want to shove it back down. And that's the part of where the self-soothing mechanisms of the 0-1-year-old, they begin as an adolescent. That 12 to 24-year-old brain of all of ours is going to be prone to seek out novelty, is going to be inclined to be also in that whole lust energy because of there being a very different biochemistry. So it's not because it has to stay that, but there's a biochemistry, and I'm using words, but it's not a set in stone anything. Again, I fuck up the data, the words. I'm giving you the concept. So please remember that. I'm drawing a picture that I can get specifics on from the right people, but I'm not that one pseudoscience lady here. Okay, so what I'm saying though is 1224, our brain and our biochemistry has a way that it is. And so we can all remember those adolescent years. I learned that all these kids, simply put, unreliable. And in fact, to this day, when you meet anyone has a mood and they're an adolescent, they're not reliable. They have what is called projection. They have low self esteem. They're not securely attached, and they don't know how to keep a relationship going of any type, let alone romantic, because they have a push pull habit. Their bell is looking for their next stromboli, or it's that well, and they're not drinking from the well, they're not drinking the water. Okay, but your ears need to be able to be open. And thank goodness we have good therapists online at this point sharing good information. So, Dr. Daniel Fox for personality disorders, and he humanizes them and he shares they're all healable. They can all work with their maladaptive child behavior. He calls it maladaptive. I use these maladaptive, adaptive interchangeably because there are those who did not have necessarily maladaptive, but they continued their shame cycle and then they wired themselves shut because your brain, neuroplasticity, remember, it's something we all have the capacity of, our brains. It's an organ. And so you're going to repeat patterns. If you're repeating patterns that are negative, you wire yourself shut in that. And we'll continue with that one in another episode, not this one. But long story short, you can use the dark sides of neuroplasticity. And I have seen people do this when they had opportunity to do otherwise. We're choice points, romantically, relationship of all types. And that's why the 5D collective, Mystics and Not, we're here to be healthy self-worth to each other, to have that secure attachment, functional adult. And therefore, it's with people who are wanting to get out of those behaviors. They understand there's nothing to be ashamed of. And they're actually completely out of that, knowing we're going to work to get out of that, which is trauma that comes up. And that's why talking about everything open-heartedly is important, and then continuing to build trust together. So we'll be back with more. Like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for stopping by. If you know somebody who's interested in our types of conversations, please share the channel, YouTube. You find us also on any of those lovely podcast audio versions. Alone are also there. In fact, there's a lot of old material in the absence of the attachment and trauma, in-depth information that you'll be getting instead at this point, thanks to having 3 years plus an ongoing of educational material that I'm taking myself. And you can ask all those lovely curiosity questions. I'm happy to share. So again, have a great day.